Hey guys, it's Cobra and today I'll be bringing you to my second installment of the MCSG Basics. It's like basically a series to help new MCSG players learn, understand and maybe adapt to MCSG, because it's quite different from the other mods and that's why it's special when we play it, I guess. Alright, without further ado, today's episode is basically on chess. There are two types of chess in MCSG, Tier 1 and Tier 2, and today I'll be showing you the difference between the two. Alright guys, off to Tier 1 chess. Tier 1 chess are the most common chess in the game. So basically if you anyhow walk, just literally walk randomly into the forest or whatever map you're on, you at least find one or two Tier 1 chests. So basically these chests are the most common throughout normally. Maybe Moonlight Lake is more Tier 2s, but I'm not even sure. So if Tier 1s are like the most common, and what do they contain? I'll show you right here. Tier 1 chests contain these stuff you can see a wheat string, a bit of weapon, some crafting materials, some food, some armor, and basically they give you the basic things that you need to survive in Hunger Games or survival games, whatever you want to call it. So I actually rank them according to my own hierarchy of things, so I'll explain to you why I rank things this way. First of all, the first level or the lowest level I rank them upon is actually wheat, string and bow. Basically they're useless to me because they kinda can be either found already in the chest, like let's say wheat, you can use 3 wheat to craft bread, that's the only use, and you already can find bread. String can be used to craft bow or fishing rod, which already can be found in Tier 1, so I don't find a need for it. Bow you can use to collect mushrooms and make mushroom stew, which is food which you already can find, but I don't usually use bows unless I'm desperate, you know. I'm not some Bayesian Canadian that always needs food. Cough cough. Okay, my second row of things is rotten flesh, raw chicken and gold ingots. Okay, rotten flesh and raw chicken, basically they can have a chance of food poisoning you, so I don't actually need them. I use them because I normally have enough food, like these kind of food that don't get you poisoned, so I normally just either leave them behind. So these 5 normally leave them behind. Gold ingots, I can leave them behind, but the only use for it is there's 2 uses for it. One, you can either use it to craft a gold sword, which has the same damage as a wooden sword, but less durability, so that's kinda useless. Or you can use it to craft golden apples. So, but it's useful, but it's not that useful. But it's still useful, so I'll still collect them, but these 5 are the usual things that I leave behind. Or I may leave behind these things as well. Leather armor. That depends whether I have armor in the first place. So this armor is needed. If you really have no armor, these armor come in handy, but these are the worst armor in the game, but you know, armor is armor, it's still quite useful, you know. Alright, next up is food. You always need food to survive in survival games, enough said, but there's no cooked food though, so you know, I rank them quite highly because it's food. You need them, you need them to run, you need them to regen, so yeah. Next up is feathers, flint, stick and iron ingot. Okay, iron ingot first of all is very useful because since Tier 1 chests is so abundant, people usually have a weapon, and the most powerful weapon you can get out of Tier 1 is stone sword. So if you're able to get 2 iron ingots and craft an iron sword, it's actually more powerful than a stone sword, which gives you a clear advantage over them. And stick is really useful. Nowadays, I don't know why, but it's kind of rare to find sticks. Okay, sometimes you can get a lot of them, sometimes you just don't. So it's kind of useful. You can use to craft feathers. I mean, use to craft arrows, and use to craft swords. So it's actually very useful. It's so needed. And then feathers and flint. Okay, these 2 are so important. First of all, flint can be used to craft flint and steel, which is very useful to take out teams, as well as you can use to craft arrows. Arrows is so important, guys. It's the only projectile in the game that can actually do damage. So if anyone's running away or like water fight, you can actually use it. Arrows come in so handy. So guys, I find that so important. It does so much damage. And as for the damage and strategies of how to take out teams, I'll do in another episode, but you know, basically these are very useful. Always craft them when you can. And my most important rule, which is basically weapons, and you can argue fishing rod isn't a weapon, but basically it can be used as defense. You can use it to hit away people when you need to regen, so it's actually very useful. Weapons wise, yeah, you get my point. Weapons are very important, like wooden sword, stone axe, wooden axe, but these 3 are the main things you want to get out of a Tier 1. Stone sword because it's the most powerful weapon, flint and steel because it's flint and steel, and bow because you can fire arrows with it. So these 3 are the main things you want to come off Tier 1. And the most important, so actually Tier 1s are quite important because it gets you started off in the game and it gives you a weapon to kill people with. So yeah, it's always important to have a few tier 1s in your route. So here's the average tier 1 chest. Normally you can get a weapon from a tier 1, but sometimes not always. So yeah, it's really good to have a tier 1. Tommy has a weapon of some sort, you have like some random shit, sticks, flint, and like that. So that's how a normal tier 1 looks like. A good tier 1 looks like this. You get something like, to me at least, some armor, a bit of food, a bit of iron ingots, you know, this kind of shit. However, shit tier 1 looks like this. You literally cannot do anything with all this. You can't craft the bread. Rotten flesh not really that good, although you can come in useful. Bow, I don't like that. String, no, it's just pretty useless. So this is probably a shit tier 1. You probably get that a bit when you open tier 1, so yep. Anyway, moving on to tier 2s. Alright, tier 2s. Basically tier 2s are much harder to find than normally in some obscure place or really hard to get place, or a place that requires you to do some parkour or has some traps in it. So tier 2s are harder to find. But basically tier 2s contain these stuff, armor, good armor, good food, and some random other shit. Alright, basically I ranked them again, so you guys gonna listen how I rank this shit, okay? First thing you can find in tier 2 chests, claw, compass, and shield. They're basically pretty useless. They don't really help you that much, so nothing much to say there. Second thing is arrow, fishing rod, and golden ingot. Why I ranked arrow so low and I just told you how good arrows were, because basically it has only one arrow, so it's pretty bad. So, and fishing rod because you can find it in tier 1, golden ingot because you also can find it in tier 1. So yeah. Next up is food. As you know, food is always very useful, and all these are cooked food and they heal a lot of hearts. I mean a hunger bar, so it's really useful. And then there's golden apples. Golden apples regen some of your HP no matter what your hunger bar is. So it's really useful when you need to regen your health really quickly, because it speeds up your regeneration anyways. So if you're low after a fight and you really need to regen quick while a guy's chasing you, just pop a golden apple and you're good. So I have to rank it higher than the rest of the fruit because it's so useful. And when you can craft golden apples, always do it, guys. Next up you can get is armor. These armors are so useful. Chain armor, gold armor, and iron armor, and these stuff. I can't really separate them because they're so powerful. Basically tier 2s, the reason why people go for tier 2s are these stuff. Diamonds, iron ingots, and this. And also stone sword, but stone sword depends because you can get it from tier 1. So it may not be that important, but it can be really important if you get a stone sword from corn, because that's the first chest everyone loots, and by then no one will have a weapon and you'll be the most powerful guy there. And so stone sword depends the importance of it depends on the situation, so I left it in the corner. So iron armor is the most powerful, so it's I have to rank it as the most powerful. So yeah, so guys, tier 2s, that's why people always go for them. It's the hardest to get, and tier 2s, normally anything you get from tier 2 is pretty good. So the only shit tier 2 that you ever get is this. Getting this 3 shit in the chest, you basically feel pretty bad. So other than that, tier 2s are the chests you want to go for. Alright, so here's an example of a tier 2 in SG4, whereby this tier 2 is actually on top of the train. So it takes quite a while to get there. You have to run the whole line, and it's kind of dangerous as well because people can hit you off, and then you take a lot of fall damage, and you probably die. You just probably die if they hit you off. So it's quite a risk to run here. So that's why it's a tier 2. Tier 2 chests are really hard to get to, and this is just one example. So guys, if you want to have a good chest route, always plan out a good amount of tier 1s and tier 2s, because technically if you only have tier 2s in your chest, which probably wouldn't happen, but you wouldn't have any sticks, or maybe you wouldn't have some items which is to, like, maybe you won't have a weapon, because the chances of getting a weapon in a tier 2 is actually lesser than a tier 1, so you know, it's kind of hard. So if you want to if you want a good chest with a contour, you have to get a good balance between of tier 1 and tier 2. But obviously you might want to base your route on a tier 2 because it's kind of important, because tier 2s really give you the armor you need to survive. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if this helped, leave a like rating. And as for the next video in the series, I'll probably do about organizing your inventory, and maybe, like, I don't know, I'm not sure. That's first on my list of worries. I'll do a PvP tips and tricks soon, but just watch out for that. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.